Yeah, so, I went through therapy, as I said earlier on, like from a really, really young age, but I had no real concept of what it's doing for me or how it's helping me. I didn't really know. I was too young to really know the benefits. I can only say in hindsight that it was really beneficial. But the last time I went was like 12 years ago. So now I'm in the process of trying to look for a therapist, right? So I'm I'm just sort of struggling to tie it up because you imagine if you have a PT, a personal trainer, right? Like you tend to want to stick to them, like or like a barber, like you're very dedicated to your barber. You want to stick to your barber, and I imagine it's the same thing with a therapist. Like the same sort of process in trying to get a therapist. Like I actually don't really know where to start and what to look for, what I'm looking for. I first of all, like I had a female therapist when I was young. Now I'm just like, who should I really, like I don't actually know what to look for.
Okay, let me talk about my experience with therapy. So as part of my training to become a psychiatrist, if you really want to be good at psychotherapies, you have to go for your own therapy, and they make it, suggest long-term, like a year or two, just continuous, whether they're identified problems or not. So for me, I did a lot of research going in because I thought, who am I going to feel the most comfortable talking to? So that's a personal question you actually think about. Who am I going to tell my deepest, darkest secrets to? And for me, the way it came out was she had to be someone who was not Australian. Not that that's a problem, that I just felt that I had this immigrant experience. I wanted someone to share that with me. So if I said the transfer from coming to Zambia to Australia was difficult, they understand. I know they understand it because they did some sort of transformation themselves. I wanted them to be older women because I talked a lot to my mom and I felt that I'm comfortable talking to older women, that older auntie or something, it gelled with me. And then lastly, I felt they need to have lots of experience. And that was just the therapist selection. But when I went into therapy, it was really scary because there were no outlined, like when you say PT, that is the defined things. You want to get tone, you want to get buff, muscle, flex, magazine type thing.
Yeah, but even still, there's the experience as well, that you get from, and how that PT talks to you. Because certain personal trainers they're either too harsh or too soft or too this. It needs to be tuned to how you respond to them.
I was going to say, I think the most important part with looking for a therapist, page one, knowing yourself. Yeah. You will have had different interactions between...
Well, what if you don't know yourself? What if that's the reason you want to go to see a therapist?
Well, then it's still taking the time to still just do like a catalog. So you would have had an array of teachers. You would have had, if you played any sports, you would have had different types of coaches. You have your mother, your father, elders within the family, a bunch of different personalities and communication types. Some you will have clicked with and you don't mind hearing hard words from. You don't mind being directed from. Others, it just doesn't gel with. You always have arguments.
Yeah. And is it a case of like you go shopping around for them? You try a therapist.
Ask them questions, send them emails.
And then you move to another. You move to another one. Like how does it work?
I think one of the best things anyone can do is to just get away from yourself for a minute. Just give yourself a break. Sometimes we get so caught up with our own stuff, the rest of the world disappears, and we can get so introverted, and it's only our stuff that matters when there's a whole world out there. So, historically people used to go into confession, and they still do. They'll go and sit in a chair, no matter what that person looks like. They won't know whether they're male or female. They'll go and sit in the box, and they'll just have an opportunity to just express how they feel. It won't matter what the person looks like, what their qualification is, what they sound like. It will just be trusting the process of going somewhere to just share with somebody how you feel. That's a really important piece, I think. The next piece will be having a relationship with someone when you do choose someone, and not getting too caught up whether it's a female or a male. Everyone's got their own, experience, but not getting too caught up with that, because that can also be a barrier. It could be a barrier to, the juice that you can get out of that experience. An example, I've met so many people throughout my life who have surprised me, and because of my judgment and my internal dialogue, my monkey brain going off, going, if I shut it up for a second and I actually just be open to what's in front of me, they've surprised me, and I've met magical people and have had magical experiences.
Is it just
it's not so much what they do, It's what I'm allowing myself to be open to. And it's not what I already know. What I already know, I don't need somebody else to remind me of. I already know that. So I'm just open to the magic of someone I can meet someone on the street and they can be my therapist because they're telling me something I don't already know.
Right.
I could meet someone in an office and they can also share their professional experience. I could hang out with a friend's parents, and because they're not my parents, I haven't got a barrier of all the juice that my parents can give me. But because they're my parents, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna listen to you because you're my parents. I listen to someone else's parents because I haven't got that, that emotional baggage attached to it. So that's a big piece.
I mean,
as well.
I completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, I've never seen a professional therapist, but in many sense, I've opened up to, for instance, my barber. I feel like I've got a really personal relationship with my barber. Honestly, we would go, I would get a haircut. The haircut would be 20 minutes, but we'll be there for an hour just talking about...
Is that trade?
Yeah, just talking about life, about, next thing, what's happening here? Did you hear about this? What's your take on that? And you find you've just spent an hour of just an open dialogue of just letting out a lot of stuff. And you're like, and then you finish, you're like, did I just tell him all that for the last half hour? Do you know what I mean?
And
but then
he
you feel so
me.
much better. You feel so much better because you're able to sort of share that. That's your guy. He doesn't look at you anyway. He just takes you for who you are.
And I think something to add on to that as well is that's a pleasant journey. When I tell people, because out of all of us here, you haven't been to therapy, right? If I was going to make an argument that you should go, I'd say, listen, outcome would be good, journey might be rocky, because you're talking to your friend and brother, personal. You grew up with each other. That's a good exchange. And you go off. But suppose you have to tell, maybe you've got a sex addiction. Might be something you would tell your brother about.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. And then imagine you're talking to a therapist about, so you start talking about these things which
Are very uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, and you will find that's why people leave therapy quite early on. I remember the first time I went to therapy, it was so uncomfortable. I remember I've seen the process so many times, and now I can see how patients, when I talk to them, feel. It's like you're this microscope. This guy on a high chair is not talking to you, and you're uncomfortable. And the first few sessions, after like a month of going in, I felt, hey, this woman, I don't think she gets me. Even though I asked all these criteria, I don't think.
And there's different spectrums to that, right? In that, like, there's help from your brother, your friends, and your community, and then there's the next level, which is a psychologist, and then the next level, like, well, what was it? Therapist, psychologist, and then psychiatrist, depending on what kind of thing. Because sometimes if you want to talk about something as intense as like sexual addiction or whatever, it's very difficult to talk to other people close to you. Or if you're having panic attacks, like that is probably something regularly as well. That's probably something you need to see a professional for.
Yes.
Right? It's not something that your brother necessarily, much as he loves you, can help you with. So there's obviously all of them, and it's not like just see a psych. I think all of them should be together. It's like the community. It's your friends. It's your brothers. It's the people around you. You're the 5 people that you most confide in, plus the psychotherapy, plus your self-maintenance as well, like
that's absolutely right.
Meditation, for instance, which is something that I practice quite regularly, or just there's a lot of things. It's just it's an entire package. It's not like meditation is not going to sort everything out in your life. Your psychologist may not necessarily. It's also just being a part of your community and getting the support from your community.
That's absolutely right. It has to be holistic, and it might come from all of those sources and none of those sources. Ultimately, it's always you. I think the person is their best therapist. No one's going to know you as good as you know yourself. They might share with you pathways to get to know yourself again, to remember who you intrinsically are, and guide you back home, if you like, and try and unlearn all the craziness and try and deal with the trauma that we've experienced in life, to get back to that place of to peace, where we started off. And not everybody had a peaceful, great birth, but you can also get a rebirth. I've had a few rebirthing experiences, some of the best experiences in my life. And I didn't even go in there in trauma. I go in there because my friend said, hey, you should have this experience. It was amazing. So
it's a maintenance
when should we, absolutely. Yeah. So when should we leave therapy? When should we get out?
That's a good question.
When should we get out of there?
And
when should we?
And
I guess when's a good place to get in?
usually if you're with a good
Why should we stay?
Yes, that's a good thing. If you're with a good psychologist, you actually address, they'll ask you subtly in the beginning why you're there and what it is you're trying to achieve for the end out. They actually, if they're setting up the frame really well, they'll pick it's very like logical. You think like it's going to be this flowy thing you see in the movies where you lie on the sofa. No, they'll actually be like, what are your problems? Let's try and talk through them. What do you perceive being a good result? You know? So let's talk about the sex addiction. Let's go with something simpler. You cope with distress in your partner very poorly. You like to drink. Whenever you're stressed about anything, you drink, and you drink a bit much. You're getting now known as that guy at the party. You don't want to be that guy. It's even bleeding into work a bit. You're coming to work a bit more hungover. So in your mind, you're thinking, I want to be able to either manage my drinking or find other healthy ways to cope with stress. So the outcome for that situation would be is instead of going to the bottle or wine or, hey guys, let's meet up. Where are you guys meeting up in the club? You say that actually, I'm going to go for a run, meditation. I'm going to talk to my partner and say, listen, honey, I love you. This thing is going on for me. It's very difficult. And you practice that with a therapist. And then you start ticking boxes. And if you're able to do that on your own repeatedly, and you start spacing out your therapy, then you say, you even talk to the therapist, I'm thinking of leaving, you usually make up a plan. And it's always longer than what you think it is. That's one thing I always tell people. I went to therapy thinking it's going to be 3 months or 6 months just to check it out. I was there for like 15 months. 15 months in the end. Because by the time those 6 months came, I thought, yes, I still haven't reached, there's more. Because I always tell people, think about it, you've had a lot of damage or trauma your whole life, and you want 3 months to sort this? You're asking them to, you know?
That's a really important piece.
That's continuous, right? It's perpetual, right? There's just like you don't stop gymming, and it's something that mentally, as when you go for a therapist or to see somebody to help you out with your mental health issues, it's something that's supposed to go on for a prolonged period, forever, in fact.
Absolutely, because everybody else in your life, you're born alone and you die generally alone. And everybody else, no matter how much they love you, family, partner, everyone, friends, is going to leave at some point. But you're still going to be there. So you always have to be on that journey. You've always got to back yourself, regardless of who you've got in your support network. That's a really good point. You're always going to be there. Everyone's going to leave. They might be there for a short time, long time, or a lifetime. But at some point, they will leave, even if they go on holiday. And the other thing I wanted to mention, to just add on to what you were saying, if you're in a relationship and you're kind of looking after yourself in any kind of relationship, I've experienced that, where you're like, I don't want this relationship to become toxic because of my stuff. I'm trying to own my own stuff. So I'm going to take myself away. I'm going to go away for the weekend. I'm going to go and sit in a retreat or whatever, go and hang out and go for a run or a walk or whatever. It's important to recognize that that doesn't always go down well with people, even in partnerships, because you might be punished and then people might take it as a rejection, like your family or your partner, why aren't you talking to me? Am I not good enough? And you're trying not to overflow and kind of overshare in the relationship, even with the people that you have the most intimate relationship with. I've taken myself out of that situation and trying to take care of myself, and I've always been punished for it, because your partner might see it as a rejection. And I'm seeing it as, look, I'm trying to find the balance of us having a kind of healthy relationship and going and taking care of my own stuff. And sometimes you got to do that by yourself with someone else who doesn't know you so well. That's what my experience has been. And even if it doesn't go down well and you're not getting a great response from your partner or your family, or like you said earlier, you know, in your community, where guys might be like, oh, well, you're earning too much money, or you've got some fame, or you've gone to college and we're not going to college, so come back down here with us. You still have to be brave enough and back yourself and go for it anyway. Because even though they might be like, bro, cuz, let's all stay down here in the dungeons. They don't want to, or let's all have the success together. They don't want you to go out there. You're still going to be by yourself. You've got to go to bed by yourself. You're going to be there when everyone else goes away. You've got to back yourself.